Hey everybody, it's Jackie. Sort of random. I came up with the idea for this YouTube channel called Delicate Pendulum back in January, actually, when my mom was really sick in the ICU in a hospital here in Costa Rica. And just never really got around to starting it past the initial idea. Not sure why I decided that tonight, when I'm sunburned and makeupless and wearing mismatched pajamas, which you can't tell, was the best time to start a YouTube channel. But when inspiration strikes, you go for it. So at some point I'll do an intro video, I think, on the channel to give a little bit more insight into my goal with Delicate Pendulum and what I would hope to accomplish. But for now, I just wanted to share this thought that came to me tonight in case there's anyone out there who can relate to it or might be going through something similar. I don't know if any of you have watched Grace and Frankie on Netflix. It's a great show. You should check it out if you haven't watched it. But basically, I'm Frankie. This is my version of my own talk therapy in my very own beach house. So anyway, what I was thinking about tonight that inspired me to sit down and record this video. 2017 has been pretty much the worst year of my life. For those who might not know, my parents came to visit me for a vacation for the holidays. And while they were here, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. She became very sick, hospitalized, underwent emergency surgery, and ended up passing away here in Costa Rica, all within the period of a month and a half. So that alone could have made it the worst year of my life. And on top of that, during that time period, my husband and I also experienced a really challenging housing situation. Anytime the security of where you're living is threatened, it can be really stressful. And I would say just with the people that owned the house that we were living in the time, it was probably my first ever experience with people that I would consider to be truly ill-intentioned, and probably the most self-centered people that I have ever met in my entire life. And even with everything that I personally know about the way that people behave negatively and how that is typically a reflection of something that they're personally going through and not necessarily a reflection of anything that you did to deserve the way that they're treating you, it doesn't make it feel any better when that negative behavior or mannerisms are directed toward you. So we were dealing with that and sort of needing to find a new place to live in during a very already stressful time period in a short amount of time. And speaking of perspective, I guess given everything that was going on, it might actually be a blessing in disguise that happened at the timing that it did, because I wasn't really able to dwell on the situation as long as I normally might have. I just didn't need to understand that there were bigger things to worry about because I was living it in the moment. So I didn't even get a chance to give it more energy than it deserved. So that from that perspective was probably okay timing, but still sucked. As a result of everything that was happening, my husband and I fell behind financially quite a lot, racked up a good significant amount of credit card debt. And so it was just like a realization of all of these personal finance videos that you might have watched and people talking about how you should save for an emergency fund and have that always in your back pocket. That's legit. It's a real thing. I would recommend it in hindsight. And also a byproduct of everything that was going on, I fell really behind in my career. Had to take quite a bit of time off work, and I had a lot of goals set for myself in 2017 that have now passed me by, and everything combined just has created a giant rut feeling. One of those times in my life where it's feeling like, how am I going to turn this around? So I had lunch with a really good friend of mine today, And she is incredibly mindful, one of those people that always seems to know what to say. And I was talking with her about positive affirmations and manifestation and how I've done so much reading about these things, and I feel like I have these tools that I could use in my back pocket to kind of put these things into action in my own life, but I can't seem to make it happen. And I just feel negative all around. And being able to do those things feels sort of unattainable. And I maybe some of you have read some of these sort of self-help type of books with all of these suggestions that sound really good in theory, but when you try to put them into practice, if you're in a really bad spot, it's almost like where do you start? So she turned to me and she said, the very fact that you recognize that you're feeling negative is progress in itself, because in order to change these patterns, you have to realize that you're stuck in them first. And it got me to thinking. I've been thinking all afternoon and all night. Right now, in this very moment that compelled me to sit down and record this video, is just thinking, how can I be looking at this situation differently? And I came up with two choices that I have. And one is to focus on the fact that this is the worst year of my life, and I feel like I'm just sitting around waiting for the next domino to fall. And like the whole world is collapsing around me, and everything seems to just be going wrong. Bad. Ugh. Or the choice two is, what if this is the worst year of my life? What if? That could actually be a beautiful thing. I mean, if this is the worst year of my life, then that means that I'll never have another year that is this bad. I'm not even 30 years old yet, and I could be looking forward to the rest of my life and never having to go through anything as bad as I've gone through this year. And when I started to think about it that way, I thought, wow, well, here I am. I'm surviving. I will thrive again. Wouldn't say that I'm thriving now, but I know what I need to do to get there. And so, I'm not even halfway through my life yet, and if this is the worst year ever, then I have a lot of life left to live where I can be excited about the fact that I won't have to endure this much pain, won't have to feel this stressed or lost or broken. And anything is possible. Anything could happen. I'm sure any number of other terrible things could happen, but they also might not. And it might end up all being onward and upward from here. And when I started thinking about it that way, I felt more positive tonight than I have felt for the entire year. So I just felt like sharing it with you. I don't know if maybe anyone out there is going through something similar and asking themselves similar questions. And so I wanted to throw it out there in case maybe it'll help you look at a certain situation that you're going through a little bit differently. And in the very least, just make you think about how can you look at things a little bit differently to make them a little bit better in the moment.